Good morning. This is George. I just want to talk a few minutes, a little bit about what it's like living in the Philippines for the past 13 or 14 months after visiting here for about 37 years off and on. Um, and a lot of people ask me, what's retirement like here in the Philippines? What kind of budget do you need and all that? Basically, retirement's here really depends on you and your budget. Everybody's different. So I would recommend that you have a pension if you're going to retire here, or some type of steady income. If you're just coming over here with a checking or savings account, you can burn through that pretty fast. That's why I recommend you definitely have some type of pension, whether it's Social Security, it's a military pension, it's a disability pension, or you're probably gonna, if you're younger, you may be doing like a lot of people do. They come over here, they work overseas, maybe in Dubai, somewhere else. And then, they used to do a lot of work in Afghanistan. People would come over here, so they live part-time here. They go work, and then they come back. So it really just depends on you. But I definitely recommend having some type of steady income every month that you can count on, not just a savings or what you have in checking. But I do find, even here in the Philippines, uh, with the high gas price, especially over the last year or two, just like most everywhere, including the U.S., uh, gas prices here have been pretty high, even before the past couple years. Always was more than what I was paying, say, in Florida in the U.S. So recently, gas price come down a little bit, but still it's probably averaging around $5 a gallon if you equate the peso exchange rate over to dollars. But that's pretty much about budgeting. Stick to a budget. You can easily, if you want to go out and party every day, if you want to go out and spend money on girls every day, stuff like that, well, you're probably going to burn through money unless you have an endless income source and you're just wealthy. It's probably not going to end well for you. That's just my advice. But you try to pace yourself over here, especially if you want to live here for the long term. Make sure you pace yourself. That's the best advice I can give. Take some days off. Don't go out every day. Stay home or do other things. Spend more time at the beach or go do something like that. Fun activities. If you can golf, go try to play some golf. Just have some activities that will keep you busy instead of just staying, in the bars all the time. But that's probably my biggest piece of advice. But like I said, everybody's budget is different. Mine's going to be different than yours. Everybody's got different income coming in. Everyone's got different spending habits, and that's no different in the U.S. as well. It's it depends on what kind of money you got coming in and how much you have going out. But just pace yourself. Okay, let's talk transportation. Public transportation in the Philippines is really good. I never took public transportation that much in the U.S. I always had pretty much my own vehicle. I have flown and stuff like that, but I'm just talking about for daily transportation. I didn't use public transportation in the U.S. much. Over here, I love the public transportation. I mean, they have everything from jeepneys to trikes, buses, taxis, ferries, airplanes. And the good part about it is it's relatively cheap. It's pretty cheap by, like I said, by Western standards. Taxis over here, I've used that more recently than I had before around Longapo City. Metered taxis is kind of a new thing the last year or so here, and it's a lot better. Prices come down using a metered cab, so try to make sure you use a metered one. That's my best advice, especially if you're in the Longapo City area. Planes, I love traveling, so airplane flights are cheap to go domestically around the Philippines. You want to travel to other Southeast Asia destinations, it's cheap to go and travel, so that's a good thing. You probably have to decide whether you're going to get your own vehicle or not. If you buy a car, then you've got to deal with driving here, unless you just hire a driver to drive your vehicle all the time, which you can make that happen. But it's kind of chaotic. Driving here is chaotic. I never like driving any big city, whether it be New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, Atlanta. Same thing over here. I hate driving in Manila, but since they got the new expressways and the skyways, like going to the airport, I don't mind driving on those. If I gotta get off those freeways and get into the roads and the chaotic traffic off of those in Manila, that's a problem. Around Olongapo City, even Angeles, I can drive that no problem. But it is chaotic. I really like driving on the Subic Bay Freeport Zone here, SBMA, they call it, in Olongapo. It's more U.S. rules. And, I mean, even though people still don't follow all the rules, it's still a lot more relaxed driving atmosphere than it would be if you go out in town. So you just got to make a determination if you have the funds to go buy a car. Some people don't. And some people will just hire a driver when they need to go and use this good public transportation that we do have here in the Philippines. And so you got to decide, if I'm living in Manila, Olongapo City, Angeles City, Cebu City, Baguio, do you want to drive in those places? Or are you just going to use public transportation? But that's for you to kind of figure out what you want to do. If you want to get your license here, it's pretty easy to convert your U.S. license over to a Philippine license. Pretty quick process, LTO. I know where I live, they have one in downtown Olongapo. They have one on the Subic Bay Freeport Zone, SBMA. So you can get those driver's license converted over. Very easy. Not a lot. It's not going to cost you a whole lot. So it's good to have. So keep that in mind too if you're thinking about driving. But like I said, many people choose not to drive. They will not drive in Manila. I can't blame them. Sometimes I'll even, because I do have my own vehicle, I'll hire a driver if I'm going someplace it's not like to the airport or someplace easy to get to in Manila. I'll hire a driver for the day, have them use my vehicle, take me over there, do what I gotta do, and drive back. It's a little cheaper than hiring a driver with a vehicle or from a hotel that you got to pay that. So you can always do that as well. But good luck on that. But like I said, transportation here in the Philippines is great. One of the main reasons, I'm going to talk travel right now. So one of the main reasons I retired over to the Philippines is I've been coming here off and on for so long, like I previously mentioned. And I love the country. I like Asia. And I want to have the opportunity by retiring here to travel all over the Philippines domestically, but also other Southeast Asian countries such as Thailand, Vietnam. Plan on going to some more destinations, even over to Bali. And I haven't been to Guam in a long time, so I want to go to Guam. But like I said, to go to places like Thailand, Vietnam, you have that opportunity. But there are so many destinations in the Philippines to travel. I mean, you can keep traveling for quite a while and not go to the same place. So that's a good part. My YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram, my website, everything focuses on the Philippines and just the Philippines. Travel here is cheap in the Philippines, as I previously mentioned, compared to Western standards. Like I said, the options are abundant. Depends on how you want to travel. You might even want to take a ferry. You can go down to Batangas, south of Manila, catch a ferry over to Puerto Galera. You can also take it all the way down to Cebu, I believe Siargao, places like that. So you've got that opportunity on a ferry too if you've got the time. Or you can just fly, or however you want to do it. A lot of times I'll just go hop on a bus. Buses are pretty good here. They got some more luxury buses and some not so luxurious. But a lot of them have a CR on board. They have vendors come on with food A lot of times they play a movie. They have Wi-Fi. Now, how good that Wi-Fi is, but they do have all those things on buses, and they're pretty comfortable. They have sleeper buses. I've taken a sleeper bus from Quezon City in Manila down to Bicol, and it's like an overnight trip. But that's a good way to do it. I've driven that too, and trust me, taking a bus is much easier, much more relaxing than trying to drive there. But traveling, if you want to travel, this is a great place to retire to. If you love beaches, if you love mountains, anything like that, well, this is a place. If you want, it's so many, you've got a lot of different, not just Filipino food, you got different Asian food. I mean, it's just a good place to travel to. And like I said, it's relatively cheap by Western standards. So hopefully you'll just look at your options and try traveling around the Philippines. Okay, we'll talk about transportation and a little bit, but driving. If you do decide to get a license and you choose to drive here, you've got a couple options. I mean, you can buy a used vehicle, you can buy a new vehicle here, or you can ship one from the West. Not advisable. It's going to cost you probably more than it's worth to do that. So if you are looking to get a vehicle, I sold my vehicles before I moved here. Other people I know did too, and I rebought here. So that's probably why I'd recommend if you are going to get a vehicle. But here in the Philippines, like I said, it's not a necessity that you do have a vehicle. Public transportation is available, it's abundant, but also just remember, if you do drive, you got to kind of keep your patience, because road rage is probably not going to work here. So if you get road rage very often, have a hot temper, you might not want to drive here. It can be frustrating at times. It's different from the West, but if you're going to drive, you just have to learn how to drive here and be patient. Like I said, I like driving on the Supa Bay Freeport zone, the old U.S. Naval Base here in Olongapo. The rules are closer to the U.S., and so that I don't mind. I think a lot of the roads here, actually, a lot of freeways they're building around the Philippines are better than many states in the U.S. I was just back in the U.S. a couple months ago, and some of the roads are they're ridiculous. They're in bad shape. You can tell the states that put the money into the roads and ones that don't, and that's very noticeable. But over here, I'm quite surprised with most of the roads they're building. They're building a lot of new bridges to connect different places together. And so all that stuff, the infrastructure here for roads and stuff is really improving. Of course, they can always do better. Any place can do better. But I find the roads, the freeways they're building, pretty good. So just keep in mind, if you're going to drive, I definitely wouldn't drink and drive. When I go out, I don't take my vehicle if I'm going to drink. If I'm just going errands or something, like I go do something, go to an appointment, fine, I'll drive. But if I'm going to go out and drink, not worth it. Not worth it over here, and or anywhere really, but definitely not over here. So I'm just not going to do that. But just be careful driving, but don't be scared to drive either. Don't be scared to get a license, get a car. You can do it. If you've driven in the U.S. for a number of years, which I have, and you've driven in cities, then you can drive here. You can even drive in Manila. So don't be too scared of that. That's my advice for driving for you. Okay, I'm going to just talk about some issues or kind of problems I've had here, mainly due to misunderstandings. I've been coming here long enough. I know quite a few Tagalog words and all that. And one of the reasons I came to the Philippines too, it's one of the best English-speaking countries of a lot of places you could go and retire in if you're from the West. But that being said, there's still misunderstandings because I don't speak the language fluently. A lot of Filipinos, like I said, they understand. Sometimes they don't want to speak, And you always hear this term, they're going to get nosebleed. Well, I get nosebleed too when I try to when I try to talk Tagalog sometimes. So I can't hold a long conversation, anything like that. I wish I could. So sometimes there's misunderstanding with that. I blame myself as much as anything because, like I said, I'm here. I'm in another country. I shouldn't complain unless I'm going to, attempt to speak the language. So more and more you can learn the language, Tagalog, then please do so. It'll help you out. Trust me. Other problem I have here is with businesses. Businesses, I want to call places. I don't care if it's about my car. I don't care if I want to call about a bill or my internet, call the company. A lot of times they won't answer. And then even like a car company, I call them, they don't answer, but then all of a sudden they turn around and I get a text right back. And so that's one of the frustrating things I have is when they'll text you back, but they won't pick up the phone. They don't know who I am. They don't know that if I'm a Filipino, if I'm American or Canadian. They don't know that. Or I'm from Australia. But it seems like, I know texting's a big thing. A lot of times it's cheaper here than calling. So that's why I think they do that. A lot of times they get in that mode of texting, even businesses. So that's kind of frustrating to me. But I do prefer talking directly. I don't care if it's in the U.S. or here. Okay. But that's it. That's just a couple little issues, nothing major. Okay, let's talk about schools. Schools here in the Philippines. If you have school-age kids, you have a choice to make. Public school, private school. Private school, they have international schools here. And different price levels too, depending on where you're at. Manila, of course, would have more than Olongapo City. Angeles City would probably have more than Olongapo City. And even in Baguio. So depends on where you're at. They have different schools with different prices. It's really going to depend on your budget. But what I do recommend is if your child starts at an early age going to school in the Philippines, then they'll probably be okay in a public school. Put them in a decent one, and they'll do fine. They'll learn the language. But if you bring a kid over here in their 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, like that, and they're used to going to a Western school, and all of a sudden you put them in a public school, that's probably going to be bad for the kid. So probably not advisable. Some people might not can help it. Luckily, most people a lot of people that come over here are retirement age. They don't have young kids, but I know there are guys here that do have younger kids. So they do have this dilemma of what am I going to do with my child's schooling. So, my child goes to a U.S.-based curriculum school. It's an international school. I'm lucky to have her there. I'm blessed to have her in there. But when I came over here, I really didn't budget it like that. And like I said, it is pricey, but I want my child to have the best education. So if I have to sacrifice a little bit, so be it. Because I didn't want my child, who's very smart, used to making, high grades, to come over here just to struggle when they don't know the language. So those are the decisions you have to make for your children. I know this doesn't apply to a lot of people that come over here, but it does apply to enough that come over here. So that's just my school of thought. You just have to go through, depends on where you're living, check out the international schools here or private schools, and trust me, there are some very affordable. I know there's a couple in Angeles City that's pretty affordable, so that can happen. It don't have to be a real pricey school, but those are some options. So good luck with the schools here. Okay, I'm going to talk about something I like now, that I really like, and that's restaurants. I love to eat. I love to find good restaurants. Like I said, I find those places, and I have quite a few restaurants I like that I've found here in the Philippines, especially in the Subic Bay and Angeles City areas. A lot of restaurants. And I go back to some more than others, but I'm going to give you a few of my suggestions. Depends on what you like, but I kind of go to these places for the food and the service. So, you know, that's why I go there. So, one I want to talk about, or I'm just kind of go through my list. One is El Paso Mexican restaurant, Tex-Mex. It's in SM downtown Olongapo. And then you got El Filo's, another Mexican place on SBMA, the Soup Bay Freeport Zone. And then a relatively new place is called Peri Peri. It's grilled meats, mainly chicken and ribs, and it's South African inspired. And they call it charcoal grilling, but it's pretty good. The price went up recently, but a lot of places did on their food costs. But that's a good place. And then across the street from that, well, that's where El Filo's I was talking about is. Next to that is Blacktail Restaurant. Blacktail is kind of international Spanish type restaurant. Very nice. They got an upstairs part that they have acoustic bands many days of the week. I don't know if they're doing it every day now, but it's pretty good. Very good food, good service. And what they did was, I was told that during the pandemic, when the restaurant opened in 2021, a lot of laid off cruise ship workers, Filipinos that worked cruise ships in the Caribbean and things like this, well, they were unemployed. The owner got smart, I guess, and hired those. So they know how to make a lot of your Caribbean drinks from cruise ships, or like you'd go find in the Caribbean somewhere. So that's good. Make a very good mojito if you like that type of thing. But they do. They have a well-stocked bar, and the food is good. So that's a recommendation. Another place is at the Best Western Hotel on the Freeport Zone as well. It's called the Gastro Pub, and they also have an upstairs pool and pool bar. Really nice. It's probably the best view of any place on the Freeport Zone. And then Texas Joe's also. It's been around a long time. It's American Texas barbecue, so that one's good. And then Riley's Bistro, that's on the base as well. It's at the bottom of El Caballo Road. It's right on the water. Great for scenery. It's more like a bistro, but I don't eat there a lot, but I'll go by there for drinks. Sometimes I'll go by there for breakfast. And then another breakfast place I like going to here is Angel's Bakery in Barrio Barreto. Now, Barrio Barreto, there are some other places I like too, but probably if I had to pick one, if I could only go to one place for breakfast, it would be Angel's Bakery. But they do have other places. And then if you like Korean, kind of Korean Japanese food, I would say Tangkang I think that's the way it's said, but it's down on the waterfront right next to El Filo's. So that's another place. Like I said, there's a lot of restaurants on the Freeport Zone in Olongapo. Another one up, kind of going to Subic. It's right past Bloy Road in Barreto. It's called Marsh Grill. Now, Marsh Grill is kind of international. They have Filipino. I know they have Mexican, like they have tacos, they have pizza. Like I said, Filipino food, but it's right up near Jollibee, going to Subic right after you pass Beloy Road. So that's another spot. A place up in Angeles, that's okay. It's another kind of Mexican cantina place. Is Tequila Reef. You might want to check that place. I did a video recently, and went past. I didn't stop at Tequila Reef that time, but I did show it. But that's another good spot. And the next, kind of around the corner from that, I also showed on my last video was, what's it called? I'm trying to think here. Swiss Chalet. It's like a European with German food. So if that's your thing, then I would definitely check out Swiss Chalet. It's been there for years. I mean, as long as I've been coming, going to Angeles. So that's a place that's been there for a long time. Another place I like to eat at there every once in a while and just go sit, have some drinks. It's Philly's. You've probably heard of Philly's Sports Grill and Bar. It's international cuisine. And then another place that, like I said, I go to Kokomo's quite a bit. So, you know, I have to say Kokomo's and Philly's. If you're around the Walking Street area, you just want a place to hang out. You know, they got good drinks, food's decent. So there you go. Those are some good places. The other place that I would like to talk about is Daisy D's. I went there earlier this year. It's like a sports bar, kind of like a Hooters type atmosphere, but it's also Cajun, Creole, and also they have American food. I guess it's gone out of business, or they're going supposed to reopen. I tried to get in contact with them recently, sent them a message, I called them, nothing. So the phone wasn't working, and they didn't respond back to my messages. So I'm not sure where that's going to be relocated. I hope it does reopen. I know they had a nice Dukes of Hazzard car in there. I think I did a video about this months ago. And this is good. So hopefully they come back, but we'll see. But that's kind of some of the restaurants I like. There's just a lot. I'm sure you'll find your favorites, but this is just some of the ones I like. Okay, yeah, I want to mention too that a couple of restaurants, like I said, if a restaurant's not on my list, it doesn't mean it's not good. Just I haven't eaten there. So only putting stuff on my list I've actually eaten at. There are places that constantly want to try. One I just tried yesterday evening was a Nostro. So you might want to check that. That's on the Freeport zone as well. Another one over by the Spanish Arch on the Freeport zone. It's called the Meeting Room. It just opened up late July. It's kind of this one is kind of it's Mediterranean. It's kind of upscale. It's kind of small. They really built. They have a back part which is VIP section, which business can come in and use as a meeting room. Have food, drinks for the employees. Then also the front part, you got the bar and a nice sitting area. You can eat in there. But it is Mediterranean. So that's another place I'm going to eat at. I've only gone in there to have a drink, but not to eat. So that's on my list. Some of the, I guess, bars or resto bars I would recommend is Dynamite Dick's in Barretto. Dynamite Dick's is good. It's been there 11 years, I guess, going on now. And then I call it, we were just talking about the meeting room. I call that the meeting place. Most people I know in the area, definitely in the Barretto area, I've met at Dynamite Dick's. A lot of veterans go there. A lot of people go there, but from different nationalities, from Canada, the U.S., Norway, Australia, you name it. But, you know, I've met a lot of people there, so that's good. But go by and say hi to Dick, tell him George sent you. And then another one up by Beloit is called the Snack Bar. It has a full liquor bar. I did a video on that recently. If you haven't checked it out, please do so. They have a great staff, good drinks. The food comes from Campto down the street. It's called Campto. A lot of people call it the car wash. That's going back into Barretto. And it's really good. I did a video on that one, so check that one out. Another one I would go check out is American Legion in Longapo. If you haven't been over there, a lot of people haven't been. But they have good, really reasonable price food, drinks. They have, it's a full liquor bar as well. So if you want beer or mixed drink, you just want a American breakfast, Filipino breakfast, you want a pork chop sandwich, whatever the case may be, they've got it. Go check them out. Go give them your business. It's a good organization. And then also on SBMA, I like Schooners on the waterfront. Very nice for happy hour. They usually have bands every day, acoustic bands. So that's nice. Nice place to go drink. They do have. It's a seafood restaurant. Go check out Schooners. Also, Liberty Sports Bar is down near where the cruise ships used to come in on the Freeport zone. Liberty Sports Bar. A lot of the Filipino sailors, U.S. ships that come in, they will go there. It's been around a long time. They have pretty good food, and drinks are good there. So give Liberty Sports Bar a chance. And then also, which I just mentioned, was a meeting room. You want to go have a drink somewhere. You want more of a kind of more upscale place. You want to go in, or you want to take a date or your wife to. That'd probably be a good place to do it. Just like Blacktail would be a good place to do that. But that's just some of my thoughts on the bars and roasto bars. If you got any comments, if you want to know more, if you have a question about, especially in the Longappo area, Barreto, the Freeport zone, down below, make sure you comment. Let me know. I'll do my best to answer your question. If I don't know the answer, I know quite a bit of people around. I'm sure I can get your question answered. But I do know a lot of places. I get out quite a bit. I go, and that's what I do. I travel, so I try to find all these different little places. Okay, some of my favorite destinations in the Philippines. A lot of people, I get asked this question quite a bit, and I went recently to Batanes. That was on my bucket list for a while, and I really liked it there, so it became a real favorite place. I'm gonna start hopefully diving, and that's a dive spot. If you haven't, if you're a diver, you wouldn't kind of a not as known spot for diving, check out Batanes. It's halfway between the northern tip of Luzon and Taiwan. It's the most northern province in the Philippines. Check that out. I also recently went to El Nido. El Nido, for me, I really liked it. I've seen pictures and videos for years. When I went there, I don't know if because I watched so much, it was kind of anticlimactic, but it was beautiful. It just wasn't quite, it didn't do for me. It didn't have the wow factor the way Batanes did for me. Another place was Siargao. Went there a couple years ago. I was planning on going back because they got hit by typhoon last year, pretty much wiped them out. Bad for them. I feel bad for them, but they seem to be bouncing back well. So I'm going to go try to give them some business in the not so distant future. Also Caramoan. Caramoans, they use that a lot, the U.S., other countries, even the Philippines, to film Survivor TV shows. So a few of those were filmed there in Caramoan. Very beautiful place. I kind of actually, there's not as much to do there as there would be in like El Nido, but the beauty kind of reminded me a lot of El Nido, and I just really liked it there. So that's, I hope to be able to go back there again. It's in Bicol. So it's another good place. Another place I kind of like a lot, that I go quite often, is Naga City in Bicol. I've been to Legazpi as well, but I really like Naga for different reasons, but that's a good place to check out. Also, San Juan La Union, that's a good place. And then Panglao Bohol. Panglao Bohol was a good place. San Juan La Union. So those are all excellent places to go to. What places on my bucket list, or still on my bucket list, I haven't been, I plan on going in the next year or two? Dumaguete down south, Camigan down south, the Dinagat Islands, Batayan Island down in Cebu, Sikakor is on my list, and also Coron back up in Palawan. Back in Palawan, I went to go there this time. I was going to go to the safari, see the African animals they have there, but just didn't work out from El Nido on this trip. I just didn't have enough time, so I'm going to have to go back and make Coron its own trip and go back there. Another place in Palawan out in Honda Bay is called Das Palmas. It's on its own island out there, and I was going to go there as well instead of El Nido recently, but they got wiped out as well. Same typhoon that wiped out Siargao last year. So both of those places kind of I wanted to go to, just they were in the midst of rebuilding. Other destinations, like I said, from the Philippines, you can go so many different places. So in Southeast Asia, I still want to go to Thailand, Vietnam, maybe Cambodia. Also, I'm going to try to go back to Guam. I haven't been to Guam in years. And then I want to go down to Bali. I think I'm going to go down there and check that out. But those are some of the destinations that I want to go to here in Southeast Asia besides the Philippines. But like I said, the Philippines have so many on my list, so many places I want to go back to. So it's just a lot. So if you like traveling and you're thinking about retiring to the Philippines, I highly, highly recommend the Philippines. It's good domestic travel. Like I said, public transportation's good. But check out the Philippines for a retirement spot. I know a lot of guys just going to come here, or gals going to come here and visit, and that's fine too. But while you're here, try to check out some of the places I'm talking about. I think you'll really like it. There's a lot of good dive places here. I didn't have Puerto Galera on my list. That's a good dive place if you want to go diving. So check out some of these places. Do your own research. I can tell you and talk to you till I'm blue in the face, but until you actually do your own research, you go there and do it yourself, that's the only way you're going to experience things. I'll bring you as much of these places as I can. If you can't make it there, I'm going to bring it to you. But I'm just saying, check it out. If you're able, go to these other places. To me, people come over here, beautiful women, they got, cheaper, drinks and everything like that, accommodations. So they come over here, they want to party, and that's all good too. I'm just saying, sometimes thinking about going and do other stuff over here, going to see different places, and not the same old. Just kind of venture out a little bit, and that's my advice to you. But that's kind of my video today. Hopefully you get some insight from it. That's all I'm trying to do. Take it for what it's worth. If you can get some tidbits out of here, great. If not, hopefully next time I'll do a better job of giving you information you want. If you got comments, you want to see me go to a certain place, make sure you comment down below. And let me know, what kind of videos do you want me to do? Because like I said, I'm a travel site, but I'll go do my little time up in Angeles City, show you some videos there. I'll show you Olongapo. I'll show you Barrio Barreto, Beloy. I'll also go show you Siargao, Caramoan, Batanes, and all these other places. So I'm all about travel in the Philippines, the culture, the people, the food here. So check out all my other websites from my website, my Instagram page, which is all about Phil's, my YouTube, and my Facebook. George is all about the Philippines. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, leave those comments, check my community tab on my channel. I got a new poll out. Please answer that. Take care always. This is George.